do that clear throat just so everybody on Zoom. But all right, we're going to talk about money. Okay, I'm an economist. That's my day job. So, and I also still have my first communion money. So I'm very frugal. The number that's in my head is $300. That's what 60 minutes of ice cost me. $300. It is. I'm rounding because I can do the math easier. But yeah, in Canton, Ohio, it is $315. Now, why is that? I draw from 3 counties for the youth level. Tuscarawas County, no sheets. Stark County, 1 sheet. Summit County, no sheets. Supply and demand, it never goes away. In fact, I could have what we politely described as a conversation with a priest one day who's lamenting the fact that, you know, the kids who play hockey always miss CCD for 6 months of the year. And I'm trying to do the math with him saying, okay, here are the number of ice sheets versus the number of basketball courts. It is what it is, which is also why they sell dartboards of my face to the nuns in the county, because they're that upset that they missed the time. So I want to describe that currently I coach college club, but the points that we're going to talk about are every bit as important to the youth coaches. So what we want to talk about is what makes an effective practice. What's an effective use of that time? So Will, stick with me here. $300 an hour. How much does a minute of ice cost? $5 a minute. Okay, so here's a novel idea. As I coach college, one of my number 1 priorities is to make sure that we go on after the mites. Why? Because I don't have to pay for the ice cut. Okay, bang, I just found $50. Okay, and you know, for someone in my line of work, that's a good day. All right, so once again, using the ice time effectively, and maybe even now and then, go on the really dirty ice and say, okay, we're going to have a 3rd period practice. You know, we're going to do an entire hour on shitty ice. Okay, that will certainly help the conditioning. So the other big tool that I have, probably shouldn't have said it that way. The other aid that I use is my little notebook. This notebook has every practice we did for the last year. It's got a laminated drill card. So these are all the drills that we do. My practice is planned ahead of time into segments, which I'll talk about. But I'm never going to spend 2 minutes on a whiteboard diagramming the next 2 drills while it's going on. Because what does 2 minutes cost me? $10. $10 to describe a couple of drills. All right, so let's talk about some of the things that we do off ice, because I'm of the opinion that very, very few of these items have to be done on ice. And we'll say it, you know, for youth versus college. So on college, we practice on Monday night. We have the players there an hour before practice, and we rotate between 4 activities. First one, Will, you're going to love this, yoga. Why would yoga be so good for us? Increase flexibility, increase core strength, increase my stick radius. Fantastic touch to have yoga be part of the off ice. So, that's before practice. Absolutely. Second one we'll do is off ice stick handle. Yes, it sucks. Okay, it is the equivalent of the broccoli of hockey. But once again, it's a very, very efficient use, and it costs me $0. Now, in order to make it effective, there's a couple of things that need to happen. Number 1, the players got to have their hockey gloves on. Number 2, they got to have a stick at the right height. And number 3, it can't all be stationary. When you practice off-ice stick handling, the component are the move, the step, and the protect. whatever move it is you choose to make, then your first step to get to the side of the opponent, and then getting yourself in a puck protection position as you accelerate past that player. So a room like this would be perfect because you just have the kids doing a big oval, or you break it down with 2 instructors and 2 smaller ovals. But you do the move stationary 3 times. On the 4th one, you take those 2 steps. Once again, and that saves me a mountain of money on ice time. 3rd one we do, yeah, make sure it shows up here. 3rd one we do is what we call JD's House of Horrors. One of my grad students is now in the professional conditioning, for lack of a better term. He's going to run those guys through plyo. And he's going to make life miserable for him. Once again, core strength, conditioning, $0. That's a pretty efficient use of time. And then the 4th one that we do is, if you're familiar with our Life University program, once again, this is for college kids. This is where we bring in a speaker to help these kids make the transition from boys to men, to help them become adults. Topics of, running your own business, doing taxes, investing your 401k, all of these, one of my favorite ones was how to be a great first-year employee. Everybody talks about how to get a job. Okay, well, what makes you a rock star first-year employee? So these are all how to buy a car. We'll bring in a car salesman and say, okay, here's what you need to look at to buy. All right, I could go on about Life U forever, but anyway, that's the rotation. Yoga, stick handling, plyo, Life University. So, and Greg and Will, I'm going to go back to you about the head turn. One of my hobbies is I ride motorcycles. There's 2 motorcycle analogies that apply to hockey. Number 1, head leads first. The bike will go where your eyes go. So, use that when you dovetail. The other one's a little more hockey specific. In motorcycles, you say loud pipes save lives. In hockey, hard passes saves lives. Okay, the harder you pass that puck to the teammate, the less likely he is to get laid out. Okay, so turn your head. Loud pipes saves lives. Hard passes saves lives. All right, so let's go to, and this is where I'm going to need your help. Let's identify what our practice objectives are. What is it we want to get out of a practice? Not saying that we get it out of every practice, but if we've got 3 practices coming up, what are the things that we want to hit? And I'll say the first one, skill development. Obviously, that should be the majority of the time, or at least the plurality of the time. Okay, so if we knock skill development off the table of contents, what else do we want to have? Yeah, and you could say that a couple of different ways, because in my opinion, the competition part is part of the skill development. So what I want to do is I want to work on that specific skill, then put it into a small area game where we can compete using that specific skill. So yes, I mean, obviously compete, we're Americans. But what other objectives do we have? Fun. My favorite line from Bull Durham. This is fun, damn it. Yes, we want to have fun, especially at the end of a practice, especially for a youth coach. End on something fun. That's not so much fun, but that's the conditioning part that you're going to put in. So yes, we want to get some conditioning done. And, I have very specific ideas on how to do that. When we're doing sprints, and I was talking to Greg about this, our sprints are 8 seconds. Blow the whistle once, you skate as hard as you can for 8 seconds. I blow the whistle twice, it's a stop and 3 strides the other way. So it is skating basically for 10 seconds, resting for 20. Because once again, I want to get that heart rate up, heart rate down, heart rate up, heart rate down. But yes, stops and start, but to accelerate out of the stop. It's not enough to just stop and then actually stop. That's not how we play the game. We need to stop to change directions. So that's why those 3 quick strides coming out of that, I think, are probably the most important part of that. What other things do we want to get? Systems and tactics, absolutely. And once again, there's strategic and there's tactical, and there's a lot of that can be done off ice, but you got to do some of it on ice. I mean, especially when you're doing special teams. Yeah, it could be. Now, can special teams be done in the parking lot with a soccer ball? Probably. Can we work on offsides with the mites in the parking lot? Probably. So once again, there's other ways to do it, but yeah, that you got to get that in. What else we got? Contact. Okay, I can't believe I have to do this, but at the college level, I've got to spend the first month teaching these kids how to take a hit. It's jaw-dropping. It's borderline negligent for these kids to have gotten through high school hockey not knowing how to take a hit. And I'm one to talk because in high school I lost 5 teeth and got my jaw broken on a hit. So that I'm properly motivated to make sure that we teach these kids that. So, but I would absolutely, every chance we get, work on giving and receiving contact. So, and then the last one, which is incorporated to all of this, read and react, decisions. There has to be a point where the drill goes from beyond a script to a play, where they've got to be able to be confronted with the situation and react to that. Now, if you can think of anything else, by all means.
You're talking about prescribing problems rather than prescribing solutions.
Exactly. Greg said, are you trying to present problems or are you trying to offer solutions? First, I'm trying to. I don't. Yeah, that's right. Makes me nuts. Yeah, it almost makes me as nuts as players over, as coaches overcoaching from the bench. Okay, I think a lot of coaches would like to put an earpiece in their players' heads and walk them through every decision they make on the ice, and I think that's awful. Okay, especially at the youth level, bring them after the play and talk about the decision he made. But to do it while the game's going on, I'm not a big fan of that. All right. Okay, so let me talk about how we structure 60 minutes of ice. First 5 minutes, everybody's out there balancing agility, either with a puck or without a puck, balance and agility. We're trying to warm up the hands. We're trying to warm up the bounce the legs. The next part is critical. I wish Dave hadn't left, because that next 20 minutes is when my goalie coach has the goalies alone. So by definition, he's got a third of the ice. That's the time where I've got either the neutral zone or the defensive zone or attack zone to work on skill development, skills that don't require shooting at a goaltender. Okay, skills that could involve contact would be a great time because I've got corners. We can certainly do work on our contact there. And then taking that skill that we've worked on and now take your small area game. That's when I want to put the small area game in. So it's almost exactly at the middle of the practice that we do the small area game that reinforces the skill that we're trying to teach that night. Now we're in the second half of the practice. Now's the 25 minutes of full ice. So we're game situations. The goaltender is involved. With breakouts, forechecks, special teams. That's when we've got that 25 minutes. And the last 10 minutes, in my mind, has got to be shinny. Let's play. Now, you can have different types of shinny. One of my favorite types of shinny, if I've got 10 minutes of shinny, the first 5 minutes, the kids have to play cross-handed. They got to flip their sticks over. For a right-handed shot, well, you're going to play left-handed for the next 5 minutes. It is amazing how much easier the game becomes to them when they get to flip back for the next 5 minutes. Okay? Another one that we can play as a shinny game is we'll have 2 pucks out there. We'll have a black puck and a white puck, and it's 3-on-3 with 2 pucks going on at once. Okay? Another one where we'll play hockey lacrosse, where we've got guys who have to stay in their defensive zone, guys that have to stay in their attack zone, and midfielders who can go everywhere. There's a million different ways to do this. And I'm not saying that my ways are right. I'm just saying this is how we try and structure. But everybody knows it before we step on that ice. Because I ain't spending $10 on a 2-minute whiteboard. Okay. And I had my timer on since Bill took 5 of my minutes. I finished at exactly 15. Once again, we're passing our problem out here in the audience. All right. Do we have any questions? Anything you guys would like to pick up? And I'd like to hear some suggestions from you guys. Go ahead, Will. 20 minutes. And it's the most, how long do I let the goalies do goalie stuff? The answer is 20 minutes. That's about as much intense concentration as they can take. And understand, I only get my goalie coach at one of my 2 practices. So I can't do 10 and 10. I would prefer to do that, but he's not at both practices. But as a coach, you understand that 20 minutes of him working with my goaltenders reflects more on my win and loss record than anything else that goes on. Happy wife, happy life, good goaltender, employed coach. Pretty much goes that way. Sure. Yes, please. They know. Do I share the practice plan with the players ahead of time? Yes. So it's because we divide into 2 squads. We have a blue squad and a gray squad, and we've got a leader of both of those squads. So the squad leaders know what we're doing. The players generally know what we're doing. It takes them about a month to know all the names of the drills for the rookies. But, just don't stand in the front of the line. We'll figure it out pretty darn quick. But another thing that and this goes a little bit off topic, it's also important at the college level for me to let my players plan practices and run practices. They say never be a player's last coach. I'm the last coach. After me, that's going to be the name of a bar on the front of their sweater for the rest of their life. So I want to make sure as they're approaching graduation that they develop their coaching skills, try and give back. But yeah, players got to know.
So you send out, so with EEP, I send out references on, I send the information, send out to everyone. I'll get to my question. We send out information on what this week's season. So in season, we have 2 practices, bare minimum. And then so it will come out with a description of it's puck snap. I'll give a description of that. And I'll give just a summary of what practice is going to look like. So do you do something similar? Do you send out emails about themes or concepts or anything practices that week?
Do I send out themes or concepts? How do I communicate the practice plan to the player?
Yeah, or you send, but not in person. You do anything over email.
No, we use GroupMe. GroupMe is the most effective because with the college players right now, if I send them an email, I've got to send them a text telling them to check their damn email. So the GroupMe is the most effective way for us to communicate. Yeah, and they got to have the notifications on. And there are a couple. And the nice part is that they're generally living with one of the other guys. So, the excuse window is non-existent. Also, coaching college, I've got a great way to stop players showing up late. You show up late, make them play with a weighted vest on for 10 minutes. That's medieval. Yeah. They are highly motivated to be on time after that one. So use that one. Yeah, Greg.
So you help a lot of players get started coaching. How many do you see they show themselves?
What holds back young coaches or what holds back new coaches?
we learn from?
What I'm watching out here to my left, the number of players standing around, and there's part of it when you're a new coach is you want to demo everything to show the kids that you know what you're doing, and to show the parents in the stands that you know what you're doing, and it takes a while to get a little bit of confidence, but it shouldn't take that long. Damn it, this is Ohio. I mean, most of our dads didn't play. Now, is it going to be that way 30 years from now? Absolutely not. But as far as development of the young coach, Greg, another way I would say that, and this goes to guys who are head coaches, nothing is worse than being the assistant coach who's basically a pylon. Rather than you run all the drills, let the assistants run some of the drills. Let the assistants do some of the drills. Keep them engaged. And if they want to try something, let them. I'm not going to be coaching this team forever. Coaching careers end in tears. I mean, it's been that way since the beginning of time. But let's help these kids develop. Let them go through and run a portion of a practice. And I would say half the drills that we do are drills that players have shown me that they ran it, we liked it, and we stuck with it, and we're using it to this day. And we typically name it after whatever high school he went to. Sure.
So the player comes up to you, ask, want that practice, or would you like, hey, this next practice?
Yeah, it's not going to be the next practice. Yeah, if the player wants to suggest a drill, does it happen right away? Probably not. It's probably going to be a practice or two down the road. And here's another part. What if the player shows you a lousy drill? What do? Let him run it, because we're all going to learn from it. And now we can evaluate what made that drill lousy. Was the drill lousy because 2 guys were skating and 18 guys were standing on the wall? Okay, let's learn from that. Let's raise the coaching IQ of our players as they're starting to age out of, I don't want to say competitive, organized hockey. And another one for the college club guys that we do that I think is the most economical puck touch we can possibly have, put a team in the beer league. It costs me next to nothing. It is so cheap for me to have a beer league team. We have 2 beer league teams. I have one for my alumni, and I've got one for the current team. And the priority to play in the beer league game that week goes to the 3rd and 4th liners, goes to the 3rd string goaltender. The players who may not get a lot of ice on the weekend, they will absolutely be selected to play in the beer league that week. It's a fantastic ice touch, and it's a chance to work on a particular skill, without visiting the dentist. There's no contact. Well, there's no check. It ain't piano. Okay. But yeah, I think putting a beer league team in for college clubbers, I think it's a great idea. Well, they know where they know, and talking about being humbled by 50-year-olds, that's actually what it is. So think of it this way. If you're playing against a bunch of 50-year-olds who can still beat the college club, odds are those are some pretty smart players. Okay, that's a graduate level class in hockey for my guys. And, I'll be up in the stands sometimes to watch these guys and says, how much fun was that to chase the puck for 60 minutes? Don't you feel like a complete and utter moron right now? What could we possibly learn from this? So I'm curious, how many guys have LiveBarn at their building? Okay. Yeah. Is that what it everywhere right OSU? Okay. LiveBarn is another tremendous tool for players development. And it's not just watching games. In the case of my guys, okay, they're sitting around with a case of beer watching a replay of the practice. And, of course, they're chirping each other as, for every mistake they're made. But once again, that's a great touch. That is an absolute phenomenal feedback loop. I'm 2 minutes over.
Well, it's great. So I would give it 2 seconds. Anything else?
Well, on top of LiveBarn, all of our states that we have, we have dedicated person.
Yeah, we do that for our, do we have a dedicated person with an iPad? We do that for our games. We don't do that for our practices. And the way, and
If we're doing a warm up,
yes, having the iPad on the ice.
standing around.
Yep.
Go replay is the best connection you have with a player, a coach and a player. This is the most true connection you have to explain something is by literally showing it. So if Laura does something wrong here, okay, I can only explain so much, but if I actually showed her on video, that's the closest thing where we are on the same.
Okay, so going using the iPad for immediate feedback during a practice. That's where if the assistant coach is running the drill, and I've got the iPad, kid finishes his rep, I can pull him right over to me, and we'll look at it together. But I have to empower my assistant coaches to run the rest of it. But yeah, and so for our games though, we use it just for the defensive zone because we're primarily focused on the goaltender. It's my goalie coaches, doing the recording. We tried Huddle. Once again, I'm too damn frugal to pay for it. But
I would say Insta.
all right, I'm sorry. Anything else?